What's up, you guys? Today I'm doing a deep dive on Jared Kushner. I think you guys might want to take a listen and get out your pads and pens because this right here is a rocky show.
Jared Kushner was born but a simple rich boy to Charles and Cyril Kushner. Charles was a New Jersey real estate developer and the son of immigrants. He was also one of the top Democratic Party donors in the country. Jared would follow suit, making the maximum allowed donation to Senator Frank Lautenberg when Jared was just 11 years old. That's a lot of lemonade money. Charles also donated to institutions of higher education, like a $2.5 million donation to Harvard University. Jared would be accepted there a short time later. What a coincidence. But Jared's acceptance may have cost more than just a large sum of money. Senator Ted Kennedy allegedly called Harvard's admissions staff to demand Kushner's acceptance. Kennedy had allegedly been asked to do this by Senator Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey, who received $100,000 in campaign donations from Charles beyond Jared's donation. The book, The Price of Admission, How America's Ruling Class Buys Its Way into Elite Colleges, cites an official from Jared's high school who claims his test scores were not Ivy League standard. A former classmate wrote in The New Yorker, "On a campus full of t-shirts and cargo shorts, he wore dress shirts and jeans from the then trendy label Seven for All Mankind, and he drove a Range Rover around campus." He quotes another classmate, "He didn't do it with a sense of humor. He did it like, I'm fucking rich."
There's nothing too obnoxious that you can ask for right now.
While Kushner was at Harvard, his father would send him real estate documents from their company. Jared would end up buying apartments in nearby Somerville with $10 million of his father's money. When he graduated, he'd sell them for a handsome profit. Kushner went on to graduate school at NYU. He was admitted just months after his father rented office space to the university. An NYU official said of that agreement, "The university was the recipient of a wonderful gift as part of this transaction, and NYU is most grateful to Mr. Kushner." But Charles Kushner's biggest move to give his son Jared power would come by accident. Under a plea deal, Charles admitted to paying a prostitute to seduce his brother-in-law, videotaping it, and showing the tape to his sister. It came in the midst of an investigation into criminality of Charles's campaign contributions. His brother-in-law and sister were supposedly cooperating with investigators in that matter, and the prostitute tape was considered revenge.
These charges are entirely without merit. He will be completely exonerated.
In the end of it all, Charles Kushner pled guilty to tax evasion, witness tampering, and illegal campaign donations. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. The U.S. attorney who put Kushner behind bars? Chris Christie. With his father in prison, Jared would watch over his empire. The Kushner Company sold $1.9 billion in real estate immediately before the housing collapse of 2008. Kushner would work on buying up distressed properties in Maryland and the Rust Belt to turn them into higher-ending housing. Kushner would say, "It was a lot of construction and a lot of evictions, but the communities now look great, and the outcome has been phenomenal." He moved the company towards some other big purchases, including the largest single-building purchase ever, 666 Fifth Avenue. He loved the real estate business, maybe too much. He told Portfolio magazine that real estate is like porn, for rich people. He'd also buy a newspaper, the New York Observer. "I found the paper unbearable to read. It was like homework." And then he said, "I own the New York Observer." But more on that later. Around that time, another infamous New York real estate developer would tell Howard Stern that his daughter Ivanka was dating a very rich guy. Not as rich as me, but a very rich guy from a real estate family.
Jared is a very successful real estate person, but I actually think he likes politics more than he likes real estate. I'm going to tell you.
When two of the biggest real estate socialites might be dating, the gossip world takes notice. Here are a few Gawker headlines from 2007 and 2008. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, just friends. Why did Ivanka and Jared break up? Do the Trumps and Kushners hate each other? Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner totally get to do it now. The empires wed, but not until Ivanka converted to Judaism. Donald Trump, father of the bride, used the wedding invitations to advertise his golf courses. Meanwhile, Jared's newspaper, the New York Observer, wasn't doing very well. Beloved editors were pushed out, and some alleged he was using it to take on personal vendettas, like when he supposedly demanded an editor do a takedown on a paper that covered his father's crimes. The Observer, formerly irreverent, intellectual, and liberal, began publishing staff editorials like, "Cut taxes, stop flight. Excuse me, higher taxes won't work," and "Dear Occupy Wall Street, it's time to go home." In a period where his father-in-law, Donald Trump, was pushing racist conspiracy theories about the birthplace of President Barack Obama,
if he weren't lying, why wouldn't he just solve it?
the paper only published positive coverage of the real estate magnate. Very odd for a paper that notoriously ridiculed the New York elite. Kushner got close with Rupert Murdoch in a parasitic symbiotic relationship. Murdoch's New York Post killed a story linking Jared's father to a famous prostitution ring, and Kushner's Observer wrote glowing pieces on Murdoch. Kushner juggled media and real estate empires for a few years, and it wasn't going too great. He was hemorrhaging money on 666 Fifth Avenue. He allegedly harassed rent-stabilized tenants, trying to force them to move. His newspaper was floundering, and some said his felon father was still secretly running the business. Kushner needed redemption. But then his father-in-law decided to run for president. Being a Republican became convenient, and Kushner's history of donating to Democratic candidates, including $6,000 to Hillary Clinton and $10,000 to Democrats as recently as 2014, would come to a close. Jared joined his father-in-law's campaign and would become an integral part of many top decisions.
And he's very good at politics.
Kushner would advise Trump on Israel, help him vet his running mates, and manage the team. The Observer endorsed Trump for the Republican nomination. Trump would allegedly bring Kushner in on phone calls and then not tell the other person Kushner was on the line. Kushner allegedly helped push out Corey Lewandowski. When Donald Trump tweeted a picture of Hillary Clinton next to a big pile of money and sheriff stars, Kushner defended Trump and denounced an Observer writer who criticized him.
You are fake news.
Kushner was a silent but powerful force throughout the election. And then Trump won. Kushner would be important to the transition team and named senior advisor to the Trump White House. And it's been working out for him. Remember that failing office building? Kushner negotiated a deal with a Chinese firm, allegedly linked to the Chinese government, to buy a large portion of it, while he was responsible for the Trump team's negotiations with China. All that from just a simple little rich kid.
What's up, you guys? I hope you got a chance to familiarize yourself with Jared Kushner, you know, with his childhood and him going to college, and also the man he is today by marrying Trump's daughter and also working for Trump himself. That right there is a story in itself, but that's not why we're here. I want you guys to take a look at Jared Kushner. He is what he called himself the peacemaker. Well, people like to call him the peacemaker. He got his fingers in lots of disasters, lots of wars, and lots of so-called real estate and lots of investments. And right now, I want to take my time out to kind of tell you that he's in the Iran and Israel conflict. He's also in the Ukraine and Russia conflict, and also he's in the Gaza war situation as well. He's claiming to bring peace to these situations, and he also wants to go in and rebuild, which is a real estate investment thing to me. But his main person that he's going to look out for is Saudi Arabia, because they gave him billions of dollars. And he received those billions of dollars right after Trump got kicked out of the office because Biden won the second election. And so when he won that election, Kushner went right and did a deal with Saudi Arabia. And that right there is kind of fishy itself. But I want you guys just to take a, look at these videos, because, I like to, post these receipts. And then I can kind of tell you where I'm headed with this. Come on, let's take this deep dive.
The Saudis.
Virginia Cantor is Chief Ethics Counsel at Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington.
It appears to be that at the end of the administration, the payoff was a $2 billion investment in this investment fund.
Just months after leaving the White House in 2021, Kushner's newly minted investment group, Affinity Partners, secured a $2 billion commitment from the Saudi Public Investment Fund, or PIF. The news raised a lot of eyebrows.
Some next-level sleaze and grift going on right in front of our eyes.
All right, you guys. I had to pause it for a minute because these videos, I want to make sure you are understanding what I'm trying to explain here. I'm explaining, one, that he has his hands in plenty of the situations, Iran, also Ukraine, also he has his hands in America business. And also, he's one of Saudi Arabia's high business partners, and he's doing investments. And also, I want you to take a look at his plans for, the Gaza people and the Gaza land over there. So the next video is going to explain all of that. I just wanted to pause. And also, come on, y'all, mash that subscribe button, because I'm going to keep you guys informed. And also, I'm going to keep the news and the info. I'm going to make sure that I'm fact-checking everything that I'm saying. So, no misinformation and no lies here. So, come on, let's deep dive a little more.
And his very complex role in the Middle East, both publicly and privately, on behalf of the U.S. government and his own vested business interest.
Sure. So I was very surprised by this because, Jared Kushner had an official role in the first Trump administration, but afterwards he said he wasn't going back to government. He was going to run this private equity firm, Affinity Partners, and that it was going to be just totally above board. So I was surprised to hear from people in the last few months that he's been out there raising more money for his private equity firm at the same time as he has this sort of pseudo-government job as the so-called peace envoy for the Trump administration.
So if he were an official government employee, would he be restricted from doing this kind of business abroad? Would there be different disclosure requirements? Like, to what extent does his unofficial status enable him to do things, to engage in business that might not otherwise be allowed?
So this is sort of the $5 billion question right now, right? It's, if you say he has an unofficial job and he's a volunteer, it's true he is unpaid, he doesn't necessarily have to disclose the things that even, say, Secretary Lutnick has to do. The problem is he has a job that President Trump calls envoy, and he is literally negotiating for the American people. Even Jared Kushner would say that. So it's really a question that's being debated now is, should he have to disclose this? Should he be permitted to do it?
Well, it's not just about disclosure, right? I mean, would he be allowed to even be simultaneously conducting business? Like, can Howard Lutnick be engaging in these kinds of deals as as Commerce Secretary?
Well, who's stopping him? Exactly. The people who would be in charge of enforcing this would be the executive branch right now, and they haven't shown that that's something they are interested in.
Well, the other piece of the who's stopping them question seems to just be sort of public reaction and public revulsion. I mean, you would think after years of the swamp, as Elise just spelled out, being so much of the political narrative that the president came into office on, that the public would care about these things, be watching them very closely. Disgusted then when it turned out the swamp wasn't really actually being drained. It just seems like there are some new players getting to take advantage of it. Why do you think they're able to do some of this stuff just so out in the open and not really suffer any kind of political, if not legal and others kind of ramifications, even just any kind of personal and political payback for it?
Well, I think what's super interesting is that even 2 years ago, Jared did interviews about this firm, and he said, "I will not raise money during my father-in-law's second term." So even over the past 2 years, it's changed so much. And when I was speaking to people for this story, they really have mixed feelings, because there are a lot of people who agree with what Jared is doing in the Middle East, who think he's doing a good job. People can think.
Okay, you guys, I don't know who thinks he's doing a good job, especially when he's accused of investing funds for people and none of them got a return, but yet he's sitting $2 billion richer. And also, he's in all these different wars and claiming he's going to bring peace. Sounds like somebody I once heard of a long time ago, but yet, I'm not going to go there yet. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's hear about the Ukraine and the Russia war. And also, I'm going to post a video letting you know what he thinks about the plans that he can do over there in Gaza. Just look at this. You're going to be shocked.
You do have a little bit of breaking news. We just got confirmed from a White House source on background that Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, is going to be accompanying Witkoff to Russia. Now, Witkoff has met with Vladimir Putin several times, one-on-one, in an effort to get an end to this war. But I believe this might be the first time we have learned about Jared Kushner going. Of course, he was very instrumental in the U.S. efforts to get an end to the war between Israel and Hamas that has been ongoing. And now he has turned his sights to the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia. But to your question, this White House is expressing optimism. We heard from Secretary Rubio yesterday in Florida after talks with the Ukrainian delegation that there's still work to be done, but they seem to be trending in a positive direction, which is different than what...
I want to talk about Jared Kushner because he is, according to your reporting, someone who has benefited exorbitantly through his business dealings with the Saudis. He's also someone that worked to make that Gaza peace deal happen. He worked with the U.S. envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. And this is something that Kushner said. You pointed it out in your reporting. What people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trust relationships that we have throughout the world. What do you make of that? Are there conflicts of interest here?
Look, Jared Kushner has taken $2 billion of Saudi money at least into his firm. He charges 1.25% management fees on that. So that's $25 million of management fees per year. It's a 5-year deal, so that adds up to about $125 million. That's a lot of money. And this is for a guy who didn't have, a stellar investment track record before any of this. So really the Saudi money was critical for him in sort of his post-White House career. What's been especially unusual is that despite forming that post-White House career and not returning back in an official capacity, the president has asked him to play a major role in one of the most important diplomatic relationships in the world. And Jared Kushner has said that, talking with Arab leaders around the region was essential in their negotiations for what was going to happen in Gaza. Now, again, what's tricky here is that we don't know exactly how his financial relationship played into those negotiations. Historically, we don't have to ask because diplomats get rid of their investments. They don't do billions of dollars of business with, foreign countries with whom they're negotiating. In this case, we don't know which decision they made that might be influenced by money or not. We just know that it's a huge potential problem. And we're left wondering whether, all of these dealings were totally clean or whether there was something a little off there.
And you've been following the money trail when it comes to President Trump now for years. When you're looking at the money trail and his financial ties as it relates to Saudi Arabia, what specifically are you looking out for next?
The thing that I'm really curious about is how many new deals Donald Trump strikes with Dar Global and other firms from Saudi Arabia and where those are. So just earlier this week, they announced a new deal in the Maldives with Dar Global. What was really fascinating about that deal is that the CEO of Dar Global is a guy who's been sort of obsessed with this concept of tokenization of real estate, basically selling off real estate as digital assets. It's a serendipitous partnership because the Trump family, after he was obsessed, has fallen in love with crypto as well. And so earlier this week, they announced this deal that they're going to do in the Maldives, and they're going to sell off this real estate development in a tokenized fashion, as digital assets. And what's going to be fascinating is whether that increases the value of the development. In other words, if you're a sophisticated bank or a very wealthy person, you might be willing to pay X to invest in a Trump development. But what if you're a foreign state or a foreign actor or just a Trump fan who really wants to be a part of one of his projects? Are you going to scrub those numbers as carefully, or are you willing to throw even more money at it? It could be sort of a novel way of translating what would have been maybe a ho-hum development into a massive moneymaker for Donald Trump. If they're able to replicate that formula, if it proves successful, around the Middle East and around the world, it could be a tremendous benefit for the president financially.
Dan, I really appreciate your reporting here. Thank you.
Office of Vice President, who will call the White House counsel's office to say, you can't have those tickets or you got to pay for them. And so the idea that Jared Kushner, who is not even a real government employee, let's be very clear, he's a layperson out here running around with classified documents. He don't even got a security clearance. that he is out here negotiating is problematic, not just because I'm hating on the billionaires, okay, but it's problematic because in whose interest is he negotiating is my question. And if he's soliciting funds at the same time that he is trying to broker peace in the Middle East, I'm using air quotes, I don't understand how those two can go hand in hand. Am I confused? Am I wrong? Am I blowing it out of proportion?
No. You couldn't take a ticket to a game, but he's taken a ticket to the World Series of corruption. The guy has got billions of dollars in interest in the region from Saudi, from UAE, from Qatar. Now he wants $5 billion more while he's the envoy for the United States. That won't wash. When I was the White House ethics czar, I sat down with President Obama to write the new rules. And we had an ethics pledge and a set of rules everybody had to sign over.
The pledge
you
years
did.
Later, yes.
Everybody hated me because
I did not like the pledge. I was like, what is this?
I remember sitting there with Obama. I wouldn't let him refinance his simple family home because he was regulating the banking industry. And now you have somebody who's purporting to represent the United States engaging on our behalf in the region while conducting this huge business. That's why we like to litigate at the Democracy Defenders Fund. That's why we just filed against Jared Kushner a complaint with the Inspector General that he has his behavior raises questions under the anti-nepotism laws. There's a law on the books.
Okay, so this is perfect. This is perfect because the New York Times, talking about his solicitation of funds, because this is perfect, thank you. In addition to the roughly $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's fund, he amassed hundreds of millions of dollars from elsewhere in the region. That raised hackles from government watchdog groups, of which you're one, complaints that Mr. Kushner has frequently publicly dismissed by challenging.
All right, you guys. I'm also want to play one more little clip with Kanye, but before I go ahead and end this out and state my piece on what I'm trying to say about all of this, I want to just make one thing clear. I'm going to post at the very end of this video where I'm going at with this. I don't know if you religious or anything like that. I don't want to make any assumptions. But if you ever heard of a guy that comes and claims to bring peace and all the wars are breaking out and things in the world doesn't seem quite right, it just equals to something way bigger and way more dangerous. And I don't want to be the one to call it out, but I'll just leave a little clip at the end to kind of paint a picture. But I want you guys to also take a look at what Kanye has to say about the situation. And also, I want you guys to take a look at what is Jared Kushner's real big plan for Gaza and them. Because when you see a country that has been impacted by war, and I'm pretty sure they're suffering from poverty and all other sorts of things, why would you want to go bring big businesses to places that situations that done ended in war and people suffering and all those other things, lack of education, lack of, food support and things like that? Iran are almost on the verge of having no type of electricity. If they go over there and blows those nuclear power plants up, they're going to be back in the dark ages almost. So what in the world do Jared Kushner think that him going over there bringing all this real estate and these big building plans going to do for Iran and Israel and Gaza and such? It's all seem like a bigger plan for the elites, for their pockets. It's not for those people. And us Americans, we got to come together and we got to do something that's going to put us out the situation. Because when we vote someone like Trump in, we are held responsible for all the decisions that he's making, and we're going to be the backfall of all the retaliation and the things that's going to come our way and our children way as they grow older and they have to live on a, live in a country where we are known for trying to start wars and stuff for no reasons. You know what I'm saying? People say we have reasons, but I feel like today's, world, we don't have no reason to start war. We should be able to, America is strong enough, we're smart enough to be able to make things happen without having to go out and kill millions and thousands of people, because those people that's suffering, imagine someone coming to your country and they drop bombs on your children. What do you think is going to happen when those other children that survivors grow up? They're going to think the worst of those American people. They're not going to see that, hey, they had a regime that was very, not with the picture, or their regime was not, caught up in a scandal, or they really wasn't caring for their people. They're not going to see none of that. They're going to remember the people that came over and took their family, their cousins, their aunties, and they had to watch their parents, be brutalized. And for what reason? Because the government that's over there running it is not doing right. So same way their government is making them suffer, we shall one day, maybe, hopefully never, but we may be in the same shoes as those same people. But I just want you to be able to think about Jared Kushner. He is a guy that folks needs to pay attention to. And for one thing that I think us as American peoples needs to do, we need to make sure Jared is out of our political business. He don't need to be nowhere involved. He don't need to be giving us no type of pointers. Matter of fact, he over there with Saudi Arabia. Tell his behind go over there and tend to that business, honey, because I'm telling you, Trump is enough. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and play his plans and a little bit what Kanye had to say. You guys, please subscribe to my channel and kind of please pay attention. Think kind of hard. Our elections are coming up. Let's do the right thing this time. Let's take our country and let's lead it in the right direction, because we are the people and we can make a difference.
Ye dismissed Jared Kushner's Abraham Accords as money-driven. That's the accords between making friends with Saudi Arabia and Israel. He said it was money-driven and suggested Kushner and his brother held Trump back like handlers. The clips resurfaced this week after Trump credited Kushner and others for advising the February 28, 2026 strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, which he called preemptive. So Trump said he did that on the advice of Kushner and Witkoff. Some now see Kanye West's views as spot on, while others question his take on Middle East affairs, spotlighting debates over family roles in Trump's foreign policy. So let's watch this. Let's watch that video that's everybody's talking about. Let's watch this. Okay, here we go.
Sitting with Jared and sitting with Josh and finding out other pieces of information, I was like, wow, these guys might have really been holding Trump back and being very much a handler. Right then, they love to just look at me or look at Trump like we're so crazy and that they're the businessmen. So when I think about all of these things that Jared, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work, and what is it? His work in Israel or his work in Palestine? What is this? You know where he made these peace treaties? Where was that? Do you know the facts on this right here? So I'm like,
I think that was between Israel and some of the Arab nations.
I just think it was to make money. I don't know. Is that too heavy-handed to put on this platform?
No, that's your opinion. We're not in the censorship business.
Okay, thank you. And a couple days later, I found out that Josh Kushner had 10% of Skims, which is a line that I had developed.
Kushner is an example of how the Jewish people have their hand on every single business that controls the world. and everybody knows that faux fact. Like, you ever seen the movie Lego Movie, where the guy realizes everything is the same company? That's what's happening. By the way, we can't be mad at them, and you can't call me anti-Semitic for calling out.
So let's see if this is a little different.
You know, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work. And what is it? His work in Israel or his work in Palestine? What is this? You know where he made these peace treaties? Where was that? Do you know the facts on this right here? So I'm like,
Well, I think that was between Israel and some of the Arab nations.
I just think it was to make money. I don't know. Is that too heavy-handed to put on this platform?
No, that's your opinion. We're not in the censorship business.
Okay, thank you. And I just think that that's what they're about, is making money. I don't think that they have the ability to make anything on their own. I think they were born into money. And for me, as a maverick and a talent and a person that's been so crazy, and that they're the businessmen.
So, yeah, I mean, so I don't know what the Kanye West claims Jared Kushner is a handler for Trump paid by Israel government. I don't hear him saying that. Do you hear him saying that?
I haven't heard that.
I don't hear him saying that.
What does he say here? This is 3 minutes.
Let's hear.
And then after talking to them and really sitting with Jared and sitting with Josh and finding out other pieces of information, I was like, wow, these guys might have really been holding Trump back and being very much a handler. Right then, they love to just look at me or look at Trump like we're so crazy and that they're the businessmen. So when I think about all of these things that Jared, you know, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work, and what is it? His work in Israel or his work in Palestine? What is this? You know where he made these peace treaties?
Just coming home and the end to this long war that nobody thought was possible. And Steve and I were panicking, saying, what do we do next? You know, how do you implement peace? And as you guys know, peace is a different deal than a business deal because you're changing a mindset. And in Israel, there was 2 years of very intense war. For the people in Gaza, there was more than just 2 years of war. They had 20 years of hopelessness, being ruled by a terrorist organization. For the people in the Middle East, their hearts were pulled by this. And throughout the entire world, it really was weighing on us. And so we needed to think about, what do we do next? How do we change the habits? How do we change the behaviors? And we really got to work right away. And the team that Steve thanked, including the White House team and the team, the volunteers, it's really been an incredible effort, very entrepreneurial. And we really did it in the way. I've been working now with President Trump for 10 years on politics. And what continues to amaze me is that he always takes a first principles approach and says, what's the most optimal outcome? Aim for that. Whereas politicians are always focused on the downside or what could go wrong or how to make it a little bit better. He always says, aim for the best possible and, you know, do your best to get there. And if everyone thinks it's impossible, that's even more reason why you should aim for it. And so really thank you for the leadership and the inspiration for doing this. And I think you'll see today we've achieved more than thought was possible. And our ambition is still to go for something, I think, better than most people think is possible as well. So let's see if these things work. They never usually work. Good. So quickly, I'll go through this 2-year war, 90,000 tons of munitions. There's over 60 million tons of rubble there and tens of thousands of fatalities. Through the ceasefire, we were able to get to through the 20-point plan, ceasefire, release of hostages. Getting the UN resolution passed was a huge, huge effort. Really thanks to Mike Waltz and the whole team there. They did an incredible job. And we've then, with the help of the UN, we've worked very, very well with them. This is why you need a new organization like the Board of Peace to work with the UN. I want to thank Tom Fletcher. Did an incredible job of really getting it going. We've done historic humanitarian aid. Going forward, number one thing is going to be security. Obviously, we've been working very closely with the Israelis to figure out a way through de-escalation. And the next phase is working with Hamas on demilitarization, which I'll talk about in a second. But without security, nobody's going to make investments. Nobody's going to come, build there. We need investments in order to start giving jobs. We want to take these people. 85% of the aid of Gaza, 85% of the GDP of Gaza has been aid for a long time. That's not sustainable. It doesn't give these people dignity. It doesn't give them hope. And so we want to use free market economy principles. A lot of what President Trump spoke about that he's doing in America, we want to bring the same mindset, the same approach to a place like Gaza to give these people the ability to thrive and have a good life. Let's see. So on the aid, I mentioned the UN. So now people are talking about famine. 100% of the food needs are met, and that's been overabundance. The cost of goods have gone down tremendously. Over 55,000 trucks have gone in, and over 1.4 million pallets. And it's been the largest humanitarian effort done into a war zone that anyone's been able to tell us about. This really has been a great joint effort that everyone's been able to do, and so it's a great thing. We all just heard from Ali. We have been so impressed. Steve and I were speaking to him and the entire committee. Such bravery of these people to step up. And we've worked with the Palestinian Authority, who's been helping us as well. But this committee is the first time it's a technocratic, apolitical committee. I really want to thank the Arab partners for helping us select the right people to do this. And we just need to believe in them and support them. I put this up here. It's probably a little too small for me to read, but this is really important if you saw the mission statement. So Hamas's mission statement was, we need to destroy the state of Israel. That has not worked well for the people, as we've seen. Their mission statement is, we are committed to establishing security, restoring the essential services that form the bedrock of human dignity, such electricity, water, healthcare, and education, as well as cultivating a society rooted in peace, democracy, and justice, operating with the highest standards of integrity, transparency. So these are the basic things. Their goal is to have peace and to help their people, which is an obvious mission statement for a government, but actually fairly novel for Gaza. So we did a master plan. We brought in, I thank Yakir Gabay, who's one of the most successful real estate developers and brilliant people I know. He's volunteered to do this, not for profit, really because of his heart. He wants to do this. And we've developed ways to redevelop Gaza. Gaza, as President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential. And this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones. In the beginning, we were toying with the idea of saying, let's build a free zone, and then we have a Hamas zone. And then we said, you know what, let's just plan for catastrophic success. Hamas signed a deal to demilitarize. That is what we are going to enforce. People ask us what our plan B is. We do not have a plan B. We have a plan. We signed an agreement. We are all committed to making that agreement work. There's a master plan. We'll be doing it in phasing. In the Middle East, they build cities like this in 2-3 million people. They build this in 3 years. And so stuff like this is very doable if we make it happen. Rafah will start with. This will show a lot of workforce housing. We think this could be done in 2-3 years. We've already started removing the rubble and doing some of the demolition. And then New Gaza. It could be a hope, it could be a destination, have a lot of industry, and really be a place that the people there can thrive, have great employment. Once this starts going, we think there should be 100% full employment and opportunity for everybody there. And we have a lot of data on what can be, but we think that this really gives the Gazan people an opportunity to live their aspirations. But it all starts with security, and it all starts with governance. Final note I'll just say on the Board of Peace, which is that all the lessons we're doing is we're basically studying the best practices from all over the world, and we're watching who does education the best, who does healthcare delivery the best. All of these things it's not secret IP. All this is IP that the Board of Peace is going to make public, and we want to encourage all the countries to be able to follow these best practices. A lot of the things that President Trump is doing in America, if they're working, we should all be copying them. If we find what's working in other countries, we should be copying them too. And so what the Board of Peace will have the ability to do if we're successful with Gaza is really show how do you do peace implementation, which is something that when we got this deal done, we didn't really find too much expertise or know-how on how to do it. So as we're creating this system, hopefully it's something that we can just document these learnings and make them available to all else who want to use them in the future. So demilitarization, this is something we're starting now that we have a new government in Gaza. This government will be working with Hamas on the demilitarization to really take the principles that were agreed to in the document to the next phase, and hopefully that will be successful. Without that, we can't rebuild. So if Hamas does not demilitarize, that will be what holds back Gaza and the people of Gaza from achieving their aspiration, and that's very important. So the next 100 days, we're going to continue to just be heads down and focused on making sure this is implemented. We continue to be focused on humanitarian aid, humanitarian shelter, but then creating the conditions to move forward. So thank you. Final point I'll just make is this is really only possible because of the work of so many people and President Trump's great leadership. But a lot of you have been asking, how can we help? So the countries have all been incredibly generous. We'll be doing the first conference where we'll announce